In honor of the International Day of Light, we're highlighting a physicist whose work transformed science, medicine, technology, and wrote history, Theodore Maiman, the father of the laser. The International Day of Light, celebrated annually on May 16th, was established to emphasize the importance of light and light-based technology. It marks the anniversary of the first successful testing of the laser by Theodore Maiman. To truly appreciate the invention, I feel that we must take the time to understand the history and story behind it. So we're creating this lecture in his honor. This is Theodore Maiman, the physicist who made laser operable, lectured by Reem Saif at LAMBDA Physics Group at the University of Jordan. Before we go deeper, let's decode the word itself. Laser is actually an acronym. It stands for Light Amplification by Stimulated Emission of Radiation. It might sound complex, but it basically means turning disorganized light into a focused, powerful, and coherent beam through a quantum process called stimulated emission. The road to inventing the laser was paved by many scientists, starting with Albert Einstein, who in 1917 proposed the theoretical concept of stimulated emission, which is the process that allows lasers to produce intensely focused and coherent light. Charles Townes played a foundational role in the invention of the laser. The maser served as a stepping stone for the laser. His achievements were actually foundational for the eventual invention of the laser. Townes, along with two scientists from the former Soviet Union, worked independently on similar ideas for the maser, a device that uses stimulated emission to produce microwaves. And in 1964, Townes, along with Nikolai Bazov and Alexander Prokhorov, were awarded the Nobel Prize for their contributions. Later, interestingly, the term laser was coined by Gordon Gould. Gordon Gould also worked on laser theory and designs but didn't build one first. His legal battles for patent recognition lasted decades, showing how competitive and high-stakes laser race was. On May 16, 1960, Theodore Maiman operated the first working laser with a synthetic ruby. When Maiman built the first laser, the reaction from the scientific community was far from enthusiastic. Maiman first submitted his paper to physical review letters. It was rejected because the editor thought it was just some variation on the maser work. He trimmed his paper down and sent it to Nature, which recognized its importance and published it a few months later. At the time, people had no idea what a laser could be used for. It was even described as a solution looking for a problem. Maiman recalled a news article covering his new laser invention, saying, "If he has what he thinks he has a laser." But Maiman had proven it would work, which was enough to change the future. The first laser may look simple, but every part has a clear purpose. At the heart was a ruby crystal. This was the material that produced the laser light. Surrounding it was a flashlamp, which acted as a burst of energy to excite the atoms inside the ruby. At each end of the crystal were two mirrors, one fully reflective, the other partially reflective. Light bounced between them again and again, growing stronger with each pass. Finally, a small portion of that light escaped through a partial mirror as a sharp, focused laser beam. All of this held inside a middle cylinder, compact, precise, and powerful. This was Maiman's laser, the first device to turn theory into light. Since Maiman's invention, lasers have become a part of everyday life, even though most of us don't realize it. They're used in medicine for things like eye surgery, where precision matters more than anything. In industry, lasers are used to cut, wield, and engrave materials, from metals to jewelry. In communication, they power the fiber optic cables that carry internet across the world. They also show up in small ways we all recognize, like in barcode scanners, laser printers, and even in tech behind CDs and Blu-ray discs. What started as an uncertain invention is now a tool that supports everything from science and engineering to healthcare and entertainment. Maiman built the first working laser on May 16, 1960. a date now celebrated as the International Day of Light. His story is one of incredible resilience and determination, pushing through skepticism from the science community, limited funding and rejection. He wasn't awarded a Nobel Prize, but he was recognized with the Japan Prize, a place in the International Hall of Fame, and he'll always be remembered as the father of the laser. He also shared his story in his book, The Laser Odyssey, where he reflected on the challenges and impact of his work. I think his story is particularly inspiring in the sense that for him, the solution came first, before the demand to solve a problem, and it shows that scientific curiosity and drive for the sake of science itself can be heavily useful and rewarded. Here are some additional reading material on the subject. I hope to have left you with a deeper appreciation for the laser and the incredible story of the scientist behind it. Thank you so much for watching.